Hey everybody, it's your buddy Beard Grizzly, and today we're going to take a look at two guns I said I totally wasn't going to review next. About that. Zara kind of forced my hand, since last week he ended up selling the Trespasser to everybody, and I figured, why not take a look at these a little early? And if you didn't look at the title, let's go ahead and check out which guns they happen to be. No record scratch, no zooming in, no nothing like that. We already did this. Guys, on a serious note, once again, October entirely is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Please make sure that you go ahead and support it in some way that you can, as its ultimate goal is to look into getting rid of cancer in general. Personally, I went a little above and beyond, and I got all my chromas to actually fit the bill, and also, of course, my shader, my sparrow, and my emblem. Even if you happen to just have the shader or an emblem or even the sparrow right now, something is certainly better than nothing to show your support. But we'll get back to the guns, because we've already covered this in full already, right? Okay. The two guns on the list are the Trespasser and Dreg's Promise. What? Now what? Oh, we want to talk about the light level on them. Okay. Guys, I got a little excited on Tuesday, and I sort of rolled up my Trespasser before I recorded this footage. What I can assure you is that both guns were actually rolled at light level 385 throughout the course of the test. I have zero reason to lie to you guys. This is all for fun, and I have a very good time doing it. So let's just jump into the guns, and let's have some fun for the day. What you're seeing in front of you, I wanted to try something a little different just to see what you guys thought of it. If you guys don't like this, we can always go back to the original way. But I wanted to try to organize this a little differently just to see how it handled. Of course, we'll still read down the perks, so let's get to it. Dreg's Promise has 3 ballistic types of soft, CQB, and aggressive. The aggressive is what I have equipped, which is why it has a star next to it. Its main perk is called Grave Robber. Melee kills while this weapon is equipped has a chance to refill the magazine. The secondary perk options are Snapshot, aiming this weapon is incredibly fast. Field Scout increases carried ammo capacity. And Perfect Balance, this weapon has extremely low recoil. Perfect Balance is the one I have equipped in these tests. The tertiary perk is Shock Rounds. High ricochet shock rounds with enhanced target acquisition. And its exotic perk is Reserve Ammo. This weapon always has ammo on respawn. Bungie gave some pretty significant changes to sidearms in patch 2.4, and I made a very long comparison video about all of them. If you guys haven't heard what I said about Dreg's Promise in that video, here's what I said in that clip. Dreg's Promise is my favorite sidearm in the game at current. That's a fairly bold statement past me. How much does that hold up today? On to Trespasser. The images that you're seeing are with the Crucible Assassin ornament, so if you don't have that one yet, you're looking for it, that's about what it looks like, either in your hand, readied, or just standing stable. The sights on Trespasser are as follows: Fast Draw IS, Steady Hand IS, and Sure Shot IS. On my build, I will always use Sure Shot. The main perk on Trespasser is Relentless Tracker. Kills with this weapon grant enhanced motion tracker resolution for a short time. The secondary perks are Hand Loaded. This weapon is effective at an extended range. Reinforced Barrel, increased range, reduced stability, and Quick Draw. This weapon can be drawn unbelievably fast. I will use Quick Draw on this setup, as I generally use again for most of my sidearms. Trespasser's tertiary perk is called Unrepentant. Reloading after a kill causes the next burst to be a longer, more powerful super burst. The exotic perk on Trespasser is called Be the Danger. This weapon fires bursts of bullets with deadly accuracy. I'd also commented on the Trespasser and how I needed to get a hold of one. Fun fact, I was the last one in our group to actually get a hold of this gun, but I was the one that wanted it the most. It's pretty much how it always works, right? I was almost tempted to skip the wall test this time simply because of the exotic perk that Trespasser has. The additional accuracy is realistically only felt when you actually have a target that you're looking at, and unfortunately the walls don't exactly give you a clear indication of this. Reminder, for Unrepentant to proc, I have to shoot something and then I can go and shoot the wall. Dreg's Promise and strikes and bouncing around the world is a lot of fun. The gun is accurate, spews bullets at a rather alarming rate, and is very quick to reload. It's a unique design, albeit a Dreg shock pistol converted to a Guardian's weapon, but the reload animation, spikes, and casing certainly set it apart. My major complaints with the sidearm are a bit damning, however, and that's its normal ammo counter of 84, its stability not being quite that great without perfect balance, and the bullet travel time. Oh god, that travel time. Right now it's not a huge deal. Most of your shots will land in PvE content without a lot of additional compensation from your inputs. Sidearms, for me, are made to enhance your primary and or heavy as best as they can. They all have similar traits of being quick to draw and unload a lot of damage if your accuracy is on point. Sidearms are deceptively deadly at long ranges too, if you take your time and line your shots up. In PvE, this can definitely back up your primary with some added burst damage before you have to stick and move. It's a reason I love the class as a whole, but but it's amplified by Dregs because of its burst fire design. Ammo's the biggest downside to the gun, as I've said in my previous video, but it can be managed with practice, and getting lucky with those melee kills thanks to Grave Robber. I just wish the skill procced more often because, well, it doesn't. The bullets can also tear down a Hive Knight shield, which is kind of cool if you know you're going to be engaging a lot of them. Take this into a hive area, and it takes at least the annoyance out of the equation. Trespasser is just smooth. There's no other way to really describe it. When I'm over a target's head and I pull the trigger, it's a headshot. No guesswork needed, even at relatively longer distances. At 120 rounds, fully loaded without bonuses, Trespasser can go a bit longer than Dregs promise. I personally have a problem, however, and that is I constantly reload without a target in front of me. You'll see me do this often. When no targets are there, I've found it best practice to cycle my weapons and try to reload them. I even do this after I know I've reloaded weapons, but it's my paranoia of not having enough rounds and getting caught with my pants down. Anyway, this silly problem carries over to how Unrepentant works on Trespasser. Following a kill, reload, and the perk is active. I don't know how many shots I've wasted on Thrall, but it's a lot, considering Thrall only need one headshot to die. It leads me to do one of three things. 1. Drain the gun of shots during Unrepentant, which is the third of the clip, mind you. 2. Switch to another weapon, or 3. Wait until Unrepentant's timer wears off in the interest of maximizing my ammo payload. It's something that takes time to get used to, and with a habit that's now formed over years upon years of playing shooters, it's a very hard one to break. I'll generally scan for a larger target at the very least, but it always seems a shame to waste the rounds on small targets. That's literally my biggest complaint with the gun. I almost wish there was a way to turn the perk on and off, and I have been tempted to run a second Trespasser per PvE for this simple reason. I just don't want to get Crucible Assassin again because man is this gun pretty. Its aesthetics are gorgeous. Sometimes you'll get the reflection from lighting to bounce off the silver frame and it almost has its own lens flare. To sum it up again though, Trespasser is smooth. And once you get down how Unrepentant works, it's even better. Crucible time. Dreg's Promise was originally the only 3-round burst sidearm you could get your hands on. As a pulse rifle user, I naturally gravitated to wanting to use it as it seemed like a smaller pulse rifle. What I wasn't prepared for was something I brought up earlier, travel time. Bullets take a bit to reach a target at mid-distances, and this causes me to feel like I'm firing blanks at time. More often than not against competent players, Dregs will get a post-mortem. There's a plus side to this, however, and that's having 42 rounds on respawn, which, funny enough, is half its total ammo. Dying really isn't a plus. No. We should bring up shock rounds, however, and just how useless it is. I like the idea. If you miss and your target is around a wall, it'll pop back and hit them. Or, at least, that's how it sounded. It's nothing like that. You have to be a regular revolver ocelot to have this thing hit a target around a corner. Rarely could I get it to happen, and when it did work, the damage was generally body shots due to the lack of being in charge of what the bullets ricocheted and hit. I can see a couple ways to improve this. Sleeper Simulant allows for a ton of bounces at one time. In close corridors, that would make Dregs impressively deadly. The other option is increase the damage rounds do, as added acquisition doesn't matter if I'm not getting headshots against targets, at least a lot of the times. I say this as I've had someone run around a corner and hide, and that's where Dregs should feasibly make the difference, right? Between its travel time on mid-target, shock rounds being very meh, Dregs falls a bit short in Crucible for me over a normal sidearm. I will give it that it can still kill quickly and it's deadly enough to be used, however. I still have fun with it regardless of its shortcomings. Trespasser feels like the perfect companion to any primary weapon, and that includes hand cannons. Most times in Crucible I stick to my pulse rifles as I mentioned earlier, but if I happen to use a scout rifle or auto rifle, Trespasser fills the gap of close range very well. It has a 100 instability, and between sure shot and be the danger, the muzzle barely moves when you're actively shooting a target. In fact, it almost takes training to get used to the fact that it doesn't move, and I'll be honest, I'm still not fully used to that fact. Unrepented is best used in Crucible, and if you get the timing down, it almost looks like you're shooting 9 rounds instead of 6. This can be a bit dangerous, however, if you fully miss your shots, past the obvious reasons, as Trespasser's clip is a third gone by the time Unrepentant is used. You get 6 trigger pulls to drop a target, and at mid-range, that's entirely doable, being you're expelling some of the highest damage at targets that guns can supply. Even past its optimal range, bullets are fast and on point. Depending on the map, I prefer it over my primary. It's just a matter that I need to keep the special ammo crates going. If it's not obvious, Trespasser is a lot of fun, accurate, and incredibly deadly in Crucible in a variety of situations. I recommend its use often and feel that if truly mastered, it makes engagement swing in your favor. Oh, I almost forgot the best part. quick draw being an option on this sidearm receives a big thumbs up from me. I can't tell you how often that saved my butt against close targets and swing around corners. This next part's a little different. My thought behind this was to take the guns to a course. One of the best places I could think of that had a fair amount of enemies that weren't too spread out was over at Bunker Triglove over in the Plaguelands. We'll do it like we have been doing it. First Dregs, then Trespasser. This is our last section, so here go my closing thoughts. Both guns are good at mid to short range and both are stable against targets in front of you. They both hit for about the same damage, with Trespasser having a slight lead in both impact and range. You might recall a couple places where we saw damage during the video. One was against Taniks at far range, with Dregs hitting for around 700 headshot damage. Another a bit closer with Trespasser hitting for around 850 to 900. Later in each clip, you'd see the Splicer Priest, where both dealt around 1100 to 1300 on the head. These were not meant to be damage tests. They're simply there as numbers to compare in case you need a reference. Quite frankly, to compare the two guns, there's no need for a damage test if you look at the two factors that decide this battle. One is stability. To me, this is the best thing about sidearms, as it offers control, ease of handling, continued target acquisition, and being able to know what the heck is going on with what you're shooting. 2. Ammo. You can't shoot what you don't have, and this is one of the biggest functions to keep in mind about any weapon. In every instance here, I wanted to make sure the guns had their lowest amount of ammo possible. What we haven't talked about are bonus options, so here we go. Trespasser can hold a maximum of 140 rounds, so the boost from a piece of armor is another 20 rounds. Why couldn't they make it 144? It hurts my OCD so much. Anyway, Dregs with Field Scout and armor boost is 147. Well, this puts it in lead on ammo given both perks, but it sacrifices perfect balance for that push in ammo. With just the armor boost on, it has 105 rounds in total, so it definitely loses a lot of reserve by not having Field Scout on. As always, it's about how they feel, however, and that's the funny part. I don't notice a ton of difference with either sidearm, except for when I run out of ammo in Dregs or have Unrepentant fire off and watch Trespasser's naturally high stability get thrown right out the door. They're both burst fire sidearms that deal an impressive amount of damage when coupled with a primary, but both can even stand on their own. Only Trespasser can do it to an even further degree simply due to its high stability. Stats are not always the end-all be-all of a weapon. If you think they are, I would make a recommendation to test out different high to mid-impact shotguns, because there's a difference to be found there. In the case of Dreg's Promise vs. Trespasser, however, Trespasser wins based on the high stability alone. It's as close to a fire-and-forget-it sidearm you'll ever get, and one I've had a blast using since I got it. Trespasser simply gives you the best all-around experience of the two weapons. You don't have to fight it much for great performance, and its exotic perks actually enhance its base performance. It has quick draw, much higher target acquisition, and a higher base stability, impact, and range than that of Dreg's Promise. It also has the added benefit of less screen clutter, giving you a more open downrange sight of what you're shooting at. There's also a whole slew of ways you can improve the gun's performance with armor and subclass perks, but we're only comparing the guns themselves. I could honestly go on about how much I like Trespasser and how it was more fun to use in Crucible Strikes, but I think the clips I've shown speak for themselves. Past me will have to take back what he said, because Trespasser wins this duel. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below of this comparison. If there's anything I missed in comparing them, I always welcome the discussion. As always, I've been Beard Grizzly. Keep your guns greased up, and I'll see you in the next one, Guardians. Take care.